In this episode, we're getting into the cheapskates. Chapter 8 of the second edition manual has us building the cheapskates. First step is to wrap these injection molded plastic pieces around the bearings to create our wheels. Now, I've had confirmation earlier that all of the plastic pieces in the kit are injection molded in-house by Siemens CNC. Pardon me. And the melamine parts are in fact laser cut in-house as well. In fact, basically everything is built in-house except for things like the Rambo board, and then things like the bearings, of course, are purchased. The power supply and the Onyx board, heated bed, I'm going to guess that that's actually a manufactured item from outside that they just have branded. But everything else is, in fact, their design and their build, and they do it all. It's so cool. Okay, starting on the cheapskates. So these things are a very tight fit. So what I've found works is I've got a couple of pieces of melamine leftovers, scraps from the melamine sheets. So lay the black piece on top, take a bearing and just try and get it in there a bit, started. There. Take another piece, flip it around, just get it started. And then take the other sheet, lay it on top, and then just press, and you're done. And there's no focus at all. Why can't this stupid thing focus? So basically that's what I'm doing. I've got a few more to go. And all the bearings are done. Now we go on to prepping the U-joint carriers. That's these plastic pieces in here. These are kind of cool. I'm looking forward to this step. So we have the inner faces, or the inner plates, and the nuts, and I think these are the right screws. But you know what? I'm actually not 100%. I'm pretty sure these are the right ones, but I'm not entirely sure these are the right ones. These cap screws. There's another set of cap screws in there. I think it's these ones, though. Guess we'll find out. You know what? Let's just open this up. Where the heck? There it is. Alright. Okay, these are, oh. So that's our, these are the axle carriers. These are the fun bits. Alright, let's see what happens. To the third one in here. Come on. Come on. There it is. Oh, so now I've opened one up. I've opened this one up on this side and this end on this side. I'm stupid. And there we go. That's the end of that task. And I actually did have the wrong cap screws out. You needed the bigger set. There's a set screw in. Now you'll notice I have my tap out. So I found these screws ridiculously hard to get started in there. So I tapped them, but I didn't tap them all the way through. I only tapped just a couple of turns just so that I could have a start. And then why can't I focus? And then I screwed them in by hand just to give them a really good bite. So it made it a lot easier to get them in properly. So that's them. Now to install the axles. Okay, I got what I need for the axles. These are the set screws that'll hold the axles in place, and there's the axles right there. Oops. Yeah, that's what you get, one-handed. Okay, sorry. Oh, there we go. All right. Put that in there, kind of get it centered. Let's put it over here where you can maybe see it. There. So that's where the axle goes. It'll be centered. And then the screw, one there, one there. Cool. It's a pretty neat little system, actually. And there we go, axles installed. Now, the instructions might be a little bit unclear for some people. It says when fully tightened, the screws should be in full contact with the U-joint carrier and slightly overlap. Really, whoops. What that means is you want the screw head all the way down on the plastic. What that does is it actually pushes that axle. Why can't I focus? It pushes the axle all the way down into the groove. So this axle doesn't spin in here, if that's what you're thinking. There's actually pivots that go on here and they're what spin. The axle here is just solid. So you want to crank these screws down and that drives the axle into that groove and holds it well in place. Okay, now we've got to do the belt clip T-nuts, and I think we're just about ready for the next side. Oh yeah. Cool. So there's the bag of T-nuts. Well, blind nuts. I don't know why they call them T-nuts. I've always called them blind nuts. My little hammer, and I'm just going to pound in one blind nut to each of these holes. Done. Blind nuts banged in. Now to assemble the front and back and the wheels and everything. Woohoo! So here's everything we need to assemble, for me to assemble my cheapskates. The roller bearings, the front plates, the back plates, or inner plate, the outer plate, screws and nuts, eccentric spacers and standard spacers. And these should go together fairly quick and simple too. And I'm finally done with the cheapskates, all screwed on the right way. I had one of them backwards. I had the plate backwards, so I had to take it apart and do it all over. But now they're all on there, and they're all tight, and they're all adjusted. Whoops. They're all good. There's no slack in them. But they're just, just adjusted tight enough that there's no slack. And if you back them off a 1/16 of a turn, you get a little bit of slack then. But they all seem to feel the same. Yeah, so that's that. Cheapskates installed. What's next? What's next? What's next? Drive belts. Ooh, drive belts are next. Awesome. Awesome drive belts. Looking forward to it. All right, see you soon with the drive belts. All right, looking forward to this step. Here's the drive belts. And here's these precision laser cut little clamps with the teeth in them. It's pretty cool. And the little bits to hold down these bits. So I'm going to thread these through. And on and around and around and around. That's going to be cool. Here I am tightening up a belt. Bit of advice, don't screw these up. So there's the blind nuts back here that I pounded in. Well, if you screwing one of these in, and you screw up that blind nut, it's toast. There's really no way to fix it or replace it. I already screwed one up over here. There's no way I can get it tight. So it's held in by one, which is probably good enough. So be very careful. So I've had to take this cheapskate completely apart just to try and fix it so I can get proper tension on it. And sure enough, that blind nut has just scored a hole. So I think that's the end of that side. So only one blind nut's going to be holding this side in. That's unfortunate. And there's the cheapskates in place. Belts have been installed and tensioned and trimmed. So I managed to, when I installed the belts and tied them down with these, I managed to get them fairly tight so I didn't have to do any adjustments up on the top. I just tightened them right up. So that's good. I almost wonder if they're too tight. I mean, I put a lot of effort into that. So they're solid, they're not moving. I took that one cheapskate apart and I pounded in a new, well actually what I did was, I pounded in a new blind nut and then I very carefully threaded the screw into it a couple times, 2 screws, just to make sure the threads were cut properly. And I managed to get it to work after pounding it back in and taping it down. So, yay. What's next? What is next on my adventure towards a Rostock Max? Assembling the EZStruder. Awesome. Now I'm on to the EZStruder. Here's all of the hardware you need. And the motor. See what we got in there. Well, it looks fairly straightforward. Alright, let's see what we got. Well, that was easy. 4 screws and 1 grub screw to install the thing here. That's it. Now to install it onto the actual wood. Awesome. So now I'm on to mounting. Let me just get my light fixed here. That didn't work. So these are all the components I need to mount it. Got my spacers, the little tube thing, the gear for the manual turning knob, and a couple of pieces of hardware. It's all going to get mounted inside there. Alright, let's get her done. And another really easy step. The instructions were fairly straightforward, although it didn't make it clear that you need to install these 3 pieces first on these screws before setting it inside there. The instructions don't seem to actually mention that. But you have to look at the picture to kind of realize what's going on. Before, you need to... Oh, I guess it has them on here. So up next is installing that EZStruder right up there. No, right there. No, right there. Yeah, right there. And let's see what that looks like. And now that's in place. That was easy. Oh, just 2 screws to hold the whole thing together. Hold it all on there. So now we're going to wire that up. I guess this means getting the soldering gun out again, or the soldering iron, I mean. Yep. Alright. Alright, so the EZStruder is in place and all wired up. It's been sleeved. I left a lot of slack there. I'm just going to tie it into those same tie clips. Okay, what's next? What is next? Oh, the hot end and Bowden tube. Alright. Moving on. Next is wiring the hot end. So I've got my non-insulated crimpers there, or whatever they're called. There's my hot end. It's been wrapped in Captain tape according to the new instructions. The original manual doesn't mention to wrap it in Captain tape. The reason is just in case the cable snags on something while it's printing, it's unlikely to end up just yanking out one of the resistors or the thermistor, either one of which will just end up destroying your hot end. So now we got to start bending some wires and clipping some stuff on. I'm hoping I haven't screwed up yet. It's a bit of a mess up there. Didn't come out as pretty as I was hoping, but you know what? Whatever. I don't care anymore. Okay, be back in a minute. Well, I got the leads all soldered and crimped on now. The thermistor leads are soldered. Nice focus. I don't know what's harder for me to do, soldering them or putting the tape on afterwards to wrap them up and protect them. But I guess we'll find out which one's more difficult. Well, that seems to be the end of the hot end for now. Everything's soldered on and Captain taped to get some strain relief on these and just to hold everything insulated and in place. Next up, we have assembling the hot end mounting plate. So back to some wood bits. Awesome. Woohoo! Be back. Seems like a pretty easy step. We just pulled a thing off the end, pulled a nut off the end, put this and this on there, put it back together, and we're done. Quick and easy. So that's in place now. I'm a little worried about those. You know, they're touching, bending kind of at an odd angle a bit. I'm a little bit worried. I don't know if that's bad or not. Alright, up next is the Bowden tube. So that's the Bowden tube. It's just essentially a plastic piece of tube. But that connects this end to the EZStruder. And it actually gets fed up this loam as well. So let's install that. There's the Bowden tube installed. That's just ridiculously easy. You just kind of squish up the loam like that, push it together, and then it just slides up there. Kind of eyeball where it goes. Make sure you kind of got enough length here. I think I've got too much length overall. Should have made it a couple inches shorter maybe, but... So next up is installing the Effector platform and the Delta arms. Now we're looking like a Delta after this step. Alright, be right back. So the manual chapters seem to be getting shorter and shorter. All this step is about taking these axles and sticking them into the Effector platform, and that's really it. So let's see how that goes. So these axles just sort of slide right in there. The manual says they're tight fit. Boy, are they ever. I actually had to use my little mallet here to tap them in, and then I used my digital calipers to make sure that they were as centered as can be, and that's done. What's next? I've been waiting for this step. I've been waiting for this step. This is where we get to turn it into a Delta. Alright, be right back. So here's the parts we need. We have our Delta arms. Hang on. The retainer clips and the U-joints. Hang on, I'll be right back. Here they are, the arms. So I'm going to go around and trim all the flashing off of these, make sure they're nice and smooth. These are the little axles. And there's the little retainer clips. Everything is injection molded plastic, right in CNC's house. Okay. And that's the arms installed. Next up is the Effector platform. So just looking at the clips that they bring, or they give you, there is an extra one. You know, they're very good about that. There are significant extras in almost all the important pieces. Idler bearings, spacers, all sorts of stuff have extras. Really nice of them to do. Overall, you know, I'll just may as well say it right now. Overall, so far, this has been a great kit. Easy to put together, relatively speaking. And everything fits perfectly. Very tight tolerances, excellent laser cutting. Everything just fits perfectly and tight with no slack and very good quality. I'm very happy so far. So let's continue with the Effector platform. There it is. Sweet! It is now a Delta. Check it out. Check it out. Okay, quit playing. All right, what's next? What's next? What's next? Installing the hot end. Fun, fun, fun. Be back in a minute. So there's all the bits we need. We got our spacers, our 1 3/4 panhead screws, lock nuts, of course, the hot end, the Effector platform. You know, that's another nice thing about this kit is the way they've basically been able to do a fairly good job of ensuring that all of the parts, there's the least number of different screws and whatnot available. So everything uses the same size and nut, which is cool. All right, let's get her done. So there's the bits for the spool holder. Inside, outside, the spacer, nuts and bolts to hold it all on. Now, because I actually installed my top plate, the bottom half of that, you know, that top plate right there, it's upside down, right? And it's not giving me any problem. I just have to make sure I actually build this reversed to what they say in the manual. And that'll actually make it fit without an issue. So I'm just going to quickly slap this together and get her up there. And that's a done deal. Just mounts in 3 holes. This one actually doesn't get a hole, it just rides over top of an existing hole. So I've routed my wires right through the middle of that. Got everything taped down. It's not as pretty up there as I was expecting it to be, but oh well. So last step is to just install the top bits. Very easy to do. Just a minute. Here's the last bits that need to be installed. This is the top plate. These are the side plates. These actually hold the top plate on, and these are just the set screws that go into the back of these. Oh, guess I got to take a little bit more masking tape off there. Forgot one. That's, I think, the one that I had to cut maybe. So, and then these screws go into the back of these to hold the acrylic in place, and that is it. Well, that's it. There's the top installed. The final step is to install the real arms. So, instructions say, put your arms together. No, not your arms. These arms. Put it in here. Boom! We are done! Well, the main construction of it is finished. Now we are on to the electronics. The LCD panel mount, motherboard, couple of things, and then the acrylic panels, and then we're printing, and then we're printing. Alright, I gotta do this. That's a roll of silver ABS right there. This is what I'll be using to print my first test print, a shroud. Let's hook it up. Da, 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 da. There it is, the first roll of filament on my brand new, not quite finished, Rostock Max version 2 printer. God, look at that. You know what would be really cool, but I don't see it, is if there was a hole right here that the filament could just, you know, it'd be great if the filament could just come right off, down the hole and in, instead of having to come around. Interestingly, if I'd actually put that on the right way, I think there is a fucking hole right there. Oh, bummer.